Hello and welcome to the Alliance Pro Wrestling Network special interview. I'm Lewis Carlin from bodyslam.net, and joining me today is an indie pro wrestling sensation. He's made appearances in AEW, GCW, Limitless, C4, IWS, Beyond Wrestling, and for Acclaim, he's the APW Provincial Champion. Very happy to welcome to the show. And I mentioned he's an Indy Sensation Junior Benito. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's an absolute privilege to be here again.
Oh man, it's always great to talk to you, man. It's always great to talk to you. So let's start with this. You made the PWI top prospects list for 2023. That had to have been a proud moment. Did you know that was going to happen, or did that come as a surprise?
Uh, it was a bit of a surprise, but also I don't want to say I expected it, but someone who works for PWI, I'll keep him nameless just out of respect.
That's
But
fine.
he just said, "Oh, I work for PWI. I just want to say I really liked your stuff." It was after one match I had on a show. I forget with who, but it happened, and I was like, "Oh, thank you." I didn't take much to it. I just got the compliment, and I was like, "Thank you very much," and I just moved on with my day. So when I saw that I had the little thing in the magazine, I was not surprised, but also it was a pretty cool joy to see. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. You deserved it, man. You're definitely one of the you've been a top prospect for a long time, in my opinion, man. It's good to see that you're getting some recognition. So how would you rate your 2020, sorry, how would you rate your 2023 so far? And is there anything that you still want to accomplish this year?
So far my 2023 is going pretty well. I
Okay.
My main goal is to make sure it's better than the prior year. So I just want to go one year at a time, one day at a time, pretty much when I look at the more immediate aspect. But as long as it's better than last year. So far I've been to Wales. So far I've wrestled a few pretty good names. I've wrestled Wheeler Yuta. I've wrestled Wasted Youth. I've gotten to wrestle a few people all around the indie circuit. Marcus Mathers, who in my opinion is going to be such
Yeah.
a big star one day in the future. Yane Harrison as well. I'm getting a lot better at uh I'm getting a lot more comfortable in the element of professional wrestling. So if the bell rings in any point during the day, I feel I could wrestle a match. And that's not something I could have said last year. So that's I'm glad I'm getting better mentally, physically, when it comes to the game. And I'm looking at it much more as a work as it is to a as opposed to a dream come true type of thing. I've passed that honeymoon phase, thankfully.
All right, man. So you tweeted out in response to making the PWI top prospect list that it's time to get to work. So do you feel you're ready to take it to the next level?
Yes, most definitely. Because it's a weird thing. I didn't look at the little description, right? I didn't read it. All I read was my name and weakness. So
Okay.
I just read the weakness list and I was like, all right, well, I'm ready to go to work on that. So now I'm focused on that and hopefully I can turn those weaknesses, quote unquote, into strengths. That's the goal.
So you're gonna work on those promo skills then, right?
Yeah, you'll be seeing a lot more of me talking, that's for sure.
I've heard your promos. I think you're okay. I think you're fine with, but if you're not a Roddy Piper, of course, but you'll get there, man. You'll get there.
Some would say I'm not that good at it yet, but I think I'm okay to start. So
Yeah,
that's
no, you're okay. You're okay, man.
only
I've
good.
listened to it. Trust me, you're okay, man. But yeah, but like you said, it's time to get to work and take it to the next level. So PWI stated that you would be ideal for AEW or Impact's X Division. And then they questioned if it was time for a Team Canada reboot. Now you said you didn't read that part. Would you be interested in being part of a Team Canada reboot? And if so, who would you like to see partner with you in a Team Canada reboot?
Whoa. In my opinion, when I think of Team Canada, I think of I just looked at them back in the day and I thought they were just the best bad guys because they could easily get the crowd riled up because they're mainly in America sometimes. Uh I was thinking like un-American styles, like you know how the un-Americans were in early
Oh
2000s
yeah.
with Christian Test and Landstorm Regal. I'm thinking that type of thing, so I can definitely get to work on talking the crowd, getting to banter a little bit. I for when it comes to people in the group, I'd love to see guys like Zach Patterson, Yane Harrison again I mentioned earlier, Macrae of course because we grew
Yeah.
up together in the womb, and a lot of other people, but I for sure can't name them. And a faction with 30 people wouldn't really be that much of a faction. It'd be more like an army. But yeah, so
So
that
so
probably
you- so you you would be up to be part of a Team Canada reboot?
Most definitely. And imagine if that was led by a guy who's like a Canadian legend, like a I don't want to throw a name out there, but imagine Josh Alexander.
I was just gonna say his name. Yeah, I was just gonna say
Oh,
Josh Alexander.
I've only worked with him once, and I've never met up with him since that day. But I'd love to work with him if I could against him or as partners or as him as my leaders in some sense. That would be wonderful. If not him, then a guy like Scott Demore would be pretty cool too. Seeing that he's coming back more on TV, uh, it would be. I know that in Impact, I'd really enjoy it because I know some people there, and the energy just seems like such a family oriented environment, and I really love those types of environments as well. Not saying that the other places aren't the same, but you could just tell it's a little bit more that case with Impact, and I really do like seeing that.
Do you think you would thrive in the X division?
Definitely, I think the X Division is an opportunity, a platform where you get the opportunity to show out. No matter who it is in the ring against, your opponent's also there to show out. Like guys like Speedball, Mike Bailey's a prime example that you can just be thrown in there. And Speedball's a monster. Let's get that out
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
put that on there. We all know that. But if you are good, or even if you're great or good anywhere in between, you'll get to showcase your abilities if you're in the X division because they give you the time, they give you the opportunity. All you got to do is perform. And Speedball took that and brought it all the way to the mountaintop. He's been X division champ. He's won Ultimate X a few times. He's done his thing. And I know if I get that opportunity, I'll shine for sure. That's most definite.
Has there been any talk about you possibly going to X Division when they're in Windsor or when they're in Toronto? Have they contacted you, or you can't talk about that?
Personally, I don't want to say it has happened. I don't want to say it didn't. But
Okay.
I'd like to keep that under the carpet for now.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. We'll move on. So you made the appearance on AEW a few months back. Has there been any talk about bringing you back for another appearance?
I've been there a few times as an extra, uh,
Okay.
with the shows recently. During that whole loop of Toronto, Hamilton, and all that stuff, I've been there a few times. Uh, and I really enjoyed it. I mainly like going there, not even thinking that I'm gonna get the opportunity to wrestle, but just for the brains that I can get to pick, get to talk to some people, get some little advice. Because sometimes just one sentence I get from a big name in the locker room could be something I remember forever. Like a guy like Mark Henry gave me just a one line, not even an AEW backstage, but it was at a random independent show. Not random, it was a Chinlock show. Mark Henry just gave me one line, and I still remember that line to this day. And every time I see him, I don't know if he remembers that, but I respect him so much for just taking the time out of his appearance. Because some people, when they show up to shows, sometimes they don't want to be there, which is understandable. They could be with their families, but they chose to go to this show. But he took the time out of his appearance there, sorry, to talk to little old me. At the time I was 18, 17 years old, and
Okay.
gave me some advice that I'm probably going to never forget, which I truly do appreciate from that Mark Henry.
Can you share what the one line he gave you, or do you want to just keep that private?
I don't know. I feel like I have to talk to him first, and
Okay.
then
Yeah. No. Fair enough, man. Fair enough.
he doesn't really know.
Let's move on. Actually, has there been anybody else besides Mark Henry that you spoke to at AEW that gave you advice?
Yeah, a lot of people, thankfully, that I've either already gotten to work with or I have met beforehand. Guys like Wheeler Yuta has been really cool and just letting me know some certain things on how to get better in the realm of television wrestling, because there's a big difference between television wrestling and independent wrestling. A lot of small nuances that you gotta become an expert at pretty quickly if you get thrown into the wolves, so to speak. He told me a few things. Eddie Kingston has told me a few things as well. And they're all such nice people. They're all such great people. And I'm very thankful for those types of guys. And also Evil Luno, of course, it's well known that he's my trainer, but he's given me such an opportunity to get to meet these people because all of them know Uno. And thankfully, with me being an up and comer, they want to throw me some good advice, thankfully. So it's working well in my favor for now.
All right, man. So when you see another young sensation such as Nick Wayne sign with AEW, while I'm sure you're happy for Nick Wayne, does that inspire you to work as hard as you can so you could get that contract one day too?
Yeah, well, first thing I told myself, this is when I see Nick Wayne, I tell myself, man, that's a beautiful story. And also I have to remind myself everyone has their own stories in this business. So it's really up to me to not, because I'm sure we've heard this a bunch of times in wrestling, people get jealous or they get angry saying that should be their opportunity. But people have to realize, not if everyone lived the same lives, we'd all be the same. You know, we would nothing would be different, nothing would stand out. Which is why Nick Wayne's story is so cool and it stands out so well because no one's ever seen that ever. So when I see that stuff, of course, it motivates me and it keeps me on the right path, knowing that I really want to be there and I will be there. And it gets me excited to get to work with a guy like Nick Wayne because at 17 years old and getting signed to one of the biggest promotions in the world, you have to be great. So when I did get to work with him in that tag team match, I got a glimpse of that, and he's a wonderful worker. And I'm so happy with all the success he's getting up until now, and I know it's going to get even better, and one step at a time. And in my opinion, when I see him on TV, I think it's the start of the next generation because I think guys like him, Jordan Oliver, myself, Macrae, and countless other individuals in the States and in Canada and overseas in Europe, where it's going to be the next flux of talent that are going to be taking over the scene in the next 10 years, in my opinion.
Well, you and Macrae, make up the team Fresh Air. You took on Nick Wayne, Jordan Oliver. It was IWS versus GCW, I believe. So tell me about the match. Tell me about that match, wrestling, the East West connection, East West Express, East West connection, East West Express.
East West Express, yes.
Express. Okay, sorry.
It's all good.
East West connection was Jesse Ventura, Adrian Adonis. Sorry. Yeah. So tell me about the match and how you felt, how you feel about the team, and if you hope to get in the ring with them again. Well, I think you just mentioned you did, but talk to me about the match, man, because it was an awesome match.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Going into that match, we were looking forward to because it was our first time actually going against an American tag team who have a name as well. And also, it made us realize after working with them, it made us realize that the style over there is so different compared to our Canadian style. Not saying the Canadian style is a lesser version, and the Americans are better. We're both in the same par, but the style is so much more action packed and intense to a point where that's all we're accustomed to seeing on TV and on the media, on mainstream media. So when me and Macrae got to work that type of match, we kind of got a glimpse of how we should be working a little more to get used to working in places like GCW or Beyond or crazy places like that. So it was a big eye-opening experience for me and Macrae. It was a wonderful time.
So you guys are getting booked more and more, especially in the States. Do you feel Fresh Air is about to break out in a big way?
Most definitely, I think that every
Okay.
day. And in my opinion, we couldn't get any better if we don't have that mentality. And I'm doing really is taking it one step at a time. And our main goal is to make sure every match we have next is the best match on the card and in our existence, pretty much. We just want to make sure we put out the best performances because you never know who might be watching. That's the beauty of professional wrestling. You never know who might be watching.
Absolutely. So let me say this. On July 20th, you wrestled in Ottawa, and then on July 21st, you had to drive to New Jersey to wrestle. That's a 7-hour drive. Do you enjoy the long rides between cities?
Personally, at first, as a younger lad, I always slept, and McCray
Okay.
would gladly say I still do, but
Okay.
it got much better, and
Okay.
I really like the long drives because we get to talk, we get to know more about each other, and the stories that we can share. And I'm sure McCray has a bunch of stories about me doing silly things. I don't remember anything, to be honest. Not that I've done anything to numb my memory, but it's just when I'm tired, I am out of it. The stuff I talk about, the stuff I do is just another person, I guess. But it's not a bad thing, like not in a bad way, of course. But it's all for the good memories and good times. But yeah, I really do enjoy the long drives.
Now, McCray gave me a couple of good road stories. Do you have any good road stories that you could to share? Any funny road story? He shared a story. Said you guys were driving back and you were prank calling promoters and singing songs to them or something like that.
Oh my goodness, Lips of an Angel. I
Oh
forgot.
yeah. There we go.
Oh my goodness. What's crazy is that I was driving the whole time, so I was trying not to get into the zone of their singing, but they were so loud to a point where me trying to zone in and hearing that just gave me a massive headache. So I was just trying to stay serious, like, man, I gotta stay calm, stay cool.
Okay.
It was a fun drive. I think another story was I can't even think of a story. What was the other story McCray said? If you don't,
You
if
know
you
what?
have
I can't remember, to be honest. He
Me too. I'm kind of at a loss. There's been so many of them too. I just remember long drives and Cracker Barrel. That's my thing. I love.
Okay, there we go. There we go, man. So are there any other? I have one team in mind, but are there any other teams on the indie scene right now that you're hoping to get into the ring with?
Yeah. We it actually just got announced recently. I don't know. if the word has come out by the time this podcast can air, but we're gonna face the Rascals as well as TDT in a
Wow.
dance
Wow.
tag.
Wow.
That'll
Where's that going to take place?
That's gonna be C4 Wrestling's Fighting Back show where they fight.
Okay.
All the proceeds of the show get donated right to the Canadian Cancer Society, which so it's all for a wonderful cause. So please, whatever you guys can do to contribute, that'd be wonderful. But yeah, it's gonna be one of those wild shows. We also have Kevin Blackwood going against Judas Icarus. And that's
Okay.
nice. But yeah, that's gonna be one tag team we're really looking forward to go against. Another one is definitely guys like Top Flight, the guy Private Party. I'd love to go against guys like I'm trying to think the best friends because I know they're very ring savvy, but they're not the crazy style. And I'm a big fan of that. Guys who know when to hit what, know how to manipulate the crowd in a certain way, and just to work and to get the best reaction. I'm a big fan of those types of tag teams. Guys like FTR. Uh, I don't know who else in the tag division, in the independent tag division. I don't really know.
I have a team. I have a team I'd love to see you guys face.
Okay, let's see it. Let's see it.
Dustin Waller, Kylon King, the Miracle Generation. Fresh Air versus the Miracle Generation. Are you familiar with those guys?
They are very familiar. They've slipped from
Okay.
our grasp a little too many times, and we've slipped from their grasps
Yeah.
a little too many times. But it's been something that everyone's been trying to plan and get to actually happen. But it hasn't really. But I really hope it happens in the next few months. I'd love to say that I could finish off the year saying that we've wrestled them at least once.
Okay.
But if not, 2024 is going to be even better and bigger. So I'm ready. Uh,
Absolutely, man.
those are
Absolutely.
two
That would be a fantastic match, and hopefully it happens soon, man. I was just thinking about that the other day. I'm like, wow, Fresh Air versus the Miracle Generation would be absolutely fantastic. And like you said, I hope it happens soon, man.
yeah.
So you're going to be based in Europe, October 22nd, November 12th. How did this come about? Is it a tour that is there a promotion bringing you on board, or you just going out there looking for work, or how did this come about?
It's all started off with a big group of people. My first tour was actually with Von Vertigo and Mark Wheeler. The main goal is just message promoters as much as we can. Well,
Yeah.
Von had all those connections, but I didn't. Me and Mark, we messaged promoters trying to get booked, and then we just left for our first booking, pretty much. And then from then on, we just went living out of the suitcase, pretty much, going from show one weekend, show training one week, network this place. It's mainly just moving place there, place A, place B, going back and forth to network and perform. And with trip number two, it was also the same thing. I didn't get to perform on trip number two earlier this year in March. That was in Wales. That was with Gabriel Fuerza, Johnny DeLuca, and Macrae Martin. We didn't
Okay.
get to perform that much, but I got to train a lot and get a lot of connections. So now with this third trip, I'm getting a few more offers to actually work, and it's going to be a little easier to get bookings. Not saying it isn't easy, but I'm going to message even more places. I'm trying to get to work hopefully in more exotic places like France and Ireland and places
Okay.
like Scotland as well. I'd love to wrestle in those places because I never have. So I'd love to do that.
Well, you're returning to DOA wrestling in the UK on October 28th. So how do you feel about returning to a DOA ring?
That is going to be awesome because I remember the last match I had was an absolute wonderful time. I believe it's on YouTube, and it was
Okay.
a really fun time. And I remember after the match, I got asked in that ring to go against one of their champions in the next show. Unfortunately, that couldn't pan out because of travel issues. But here's hoping that I can pay them back in the best way I can, and that's with good wrestling when I come back October 28th.
Is there a match set up yet or not yet for DOA wrestling?
Still in the works, still in the
Okay.
works.
Okay.
But I will be there.
Okay. So how was it how important is it to wrestle in different companies, do you feel? I'm sorry, different countries, not companies, different countries.
In my opinion, I think it's crucially important for wrestlers that want to get eventually the opportunity to work on TV or in the big stage, so to speak. Because in that big stage, there's so many different types of wrestlers. You got people, say for example, if I worked for WWE, you'd have guys like Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunter, and then you'd also have guys like Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, who are like UK, then Mexico, then guys like from Canada, like Owens and Zayn, then guys from the States like Johnny Gargano and all those guys as well. There's just those are all different styles, and in my opinion, you have to experience those styles so you can be familiar with them before you end up going into the big stage so you can have somewhat experience, some type of experience going into the big stage. So I'm really enjoying it as well because I also get to do some touring, like tourism things, like take pictures of cool monuments and stuff. But yeah, it's a great opportunity to get better in the whole realm of professional wrestling.
I'm sure I've asked you this in the past, but what about Japan? How do you think you would do in Japan? And is there anybody in Japan you would like to face? As the indie scene, as I had a name, I have three names that I would love to see you face in Japan. But is there anybody out there that you're looking to hopefully get in the ring with one day?
There are many people I'd love to wrestle in Japan, but these are all like fever dream, like it's long-term things, but I'd love for that to happen one day. But it's definitely been a plan of mine to go to Japan. But thankfully, with the connections I've had, the UK things have been a little easier to get to.
Mhm.
But definitely after this UK tour, I'm gonna try to reach out to Japan. But I'd love to wrestle Okada. Obviously, who wouldn't want to wrestle
Yeah,
Kazuchika
yeah, yeah.
Okada? Guys like Osprey, Shingo Takagi, Hiroki Goto, Ishii. My goodness, there's so many people I'd love to wrestle. Suzuki. And Suzuki's actually pretty attainable. And I got the absolute privilege to wrestle Jeff Cobb back in
Yeah.
May of last year.
Great
And
match. Great match.
thank you very much. But just the style he was wrestling in, the pace and the cadence he was working with in the ring, out the ring, everything in between was just such a refresher. It was so nice. And to think people work like that on a daily basis in New Japan, it blew my mind and it just made me want to go there in that very moment. And I am so excited to go there hopefully one day.
Yeah, I know Nick Wayne was just in DDT Pro, and he did really well though. I think you against Yuki Ueno from DDT Pro would be terrific. Atsuki Ayagi from All Japan Pro Wrestling would be fantastic. Hayata from Noah against yourself would be terrific as well.
Yeah, and speaking of Noah as well, I know Anthony Green as well, and I believe it's Jack Morris. Those two people have gotten into Noah around last year, and I've known them beforehand, and they're wonderful workers. I'm so happy to see all the success that they're doing in Noah.
Yeah,
It's wonderful.
yeah. Well, you'll get there one day. Yeah. So just be patient. You'll definitely be there one day. Um, so you were last time we spoke. I don't think you were a searchable name on Cage Match, but you were a searchable name on Cage Match now. Um, One fan on Cage Match described you as a combination of Shawn Michaels and Will Ospreay. I don't know if you saw that comment.
I,
So what do you agree with that? How do you feel about that? There's two comments, both praise. One fan said you're a combination of Shawn Michaels and Will Ospreay. Do you agree with that?
I
Or how do you feel about that?
Well, for one, I definitely wouldn't agree with that because yeah,
Okay.
I gotta work a heck of a lot to be compared in the same likes of Shawn Michaels, and I have to go through my fair share of wars to be compared to a one Will Ospreay. But I'm really hoping I can get to work with him one day in the future. But I know his days as as a consistent performer are numbered because we do have to be mindful of his style is pretty taxing. But I'd love to wrestle Ospreay as well. But I wouldn't really agree with that, but I take the compliment 100%. I'll tell my mom that, and she'll be like, "Oh, that's awesome," even though she doesn't know most of the of the other wrestlers. But yeah, that means a lot though, and I guess all I can really do now is just hope that I can live up to those expectations, if not exceed them, hopefully in the future.
Yeah, that's a hell of a compliment. You were like taken aback when I told you. I thought you were gonna fall on the floor for for a second.
That's what I
But
like.
that is quite a compliment. That is quite a compliment. Um, so at C4 Wrestling, there's a clip of you diving off the top of the cage, a steel cage. You flipped in the air and landed onto a group of wrestlers. I would always think, like, do you get nervous during those high risk spots, or do you just like, all right, I gotta do it, I'm doing it? Are you getting more comfortable doing it? Do you get nervous? I mean, what's the feeling as you're about to hit that spot?
Yeah, for one thing, I'm sure a few other wrestlers can attest to this, but I'm sure if you people let the nerves set in, then they wouldn't do it. You got to have some type of like autopilot mode, pretty much. So where you just go for it and go, I'm going, and think about the consequences later. That's how I pretty much went about it. I just jumped on and went, just go, and then thankfully it ended up pretty well. I still was able to walk afterwards, and that was a big goal of mine for that night. So I accomplished that.
So the big goal was to be able to walk after the spot. Is that what you meant?
Pretty much, yeah. I walked and not really feel it too much. The next day I felt it, but hey, it was worth it. The crowd reaction was absolutely beautiful that night,
Oh
and I'm
man, they were berserk. I think they blew the roof off the building, man.
yeah,
That was C4, right? That
yeah,
was the C4 show. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, people,
Um,
that's
I
yes.
would want to make sure I got it right. I wrote C4, but I wasn't. I was thinking, was it IWS? But it was C4. It was C4. Yeah. So what do you think is the main difference between 2019 Junior Benito and 2023 Junior Benito?
Oh my goodness, growth, maturity, puberty. That's a lot of things. Like, uh, I think back then I was 17 at the time or 18, and nowadays I'm 21. Which everyone says, "Oh, he's so young" and all that, but you learn so much in that time frame, even in life, not just wrestling. One of the weirdest stories I can give you is during that time I learned how to drive. I got my license and
There you go.
I learned how to drive. And just knowing how to go on autopilot and go from point A to point B taught me how to be a better wrestler. Because in wrestling in the ring, you got to learn how to go from point A to point B in a match on autopilot. And learning how to drive helped me do that in matches a little easier and more effortlessly. So I credit my driving abilities to getting me better in the wrestling. So as weird as that sounds, but yeah, definitely maturity is the best answer I can give you to your question.
All
And
right,
experience.
there you go, man. So last question, then you could plug whatever you want. Dirty Dango, Tyler Breeze have come together as Dirty Breeze. It only makes sense that we get Fresh Air versus Dirty Breeze. Is
Yeah,
that
me
going to happen
too.
somewhere?
I absolutely love for that to happen. I haven't gotten any talks about having that happen, but I know Macrae has gotten to work with Dirty Dango a few times
Yeah.
in the ring and outside the ring. They met a few times, and honestly, I'd love to possibly work for them. Also, Breeze is Canadian. We have that relation blood wise, nationality wise, I guess. But it will be a great time. I'm sure it will be a wonderful match, a wonderful experience. I'm sure we get to learn a lot of things from those two people because they've reached the pinnacle in our sport, in some way. And I'd have a really good time with them, I'm sure. And if there's an opportunity to get their attention, Mr. Breeze, Mr. Dango, please give us an opportunity. We love to work with you. Please, me and Macrae Martin,
Well,
please.
I'll be tagging them on Twitter, so hopefully we'll get some. But it just sounds perfect. Fresh Air versus Dirty Breeze. It's like it's a perfect title. I mean, you could base a whole show around that. So
Yeah.
hopefully that'll happen one day. So before we go, anything you want to plug? Upcoming matches? I think you have a store now, a merch store. So go ahead, plug whatever you want to plug, man.
Yes, I will actually plug the merch store. That's a perfect idea. I was completely forgot about that actually. But yes, please buy my merchandise online.
How could you forget about your merch store, man?
Oh, it's it's a lot's been going on. Let's just say that. But yeah,
Okay.
my merch store junior-benito-shop.fourthwall.com. Once again, that's junior-benito-shop.fourthwall.com to buy some Clap Them Chic shirts as well as many other shirts, my original shirts as well. I also have a few shows coming up. And next weekend, I believe the date will be August 5th. I'll be wrestling for the IWS Tag Team Champions along with Macrae Martin against Chris Starr and Alex Mays. We're hoping to get the titles off of them and become the new IWS Tag Team Champions. And a few weeks after that, we have Fighting Back on August 18th, I believe. That's where we're going to get to wrestle the Rascals as well as TDT. And I'm sure that will be nothing short of an incredible match for sure. And other than that, we have a lot of other opportunities that I can't remember at the moment, but I'm sure they will all be wonderful. No doubt.
Okay, man. Okay, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me. It's always a pleasure talking to you, man. You're an indie sensation. You're going to be a big star. I've been saying that, I think, since 2019 when I first saw you. And anytime you want to come back, let's talk again, man.
Yes, most definitely. I will always have your show on the top of my list no matter what, man.
Oh man, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And it was a pleasure. We met about 2 years ago, right? Was it at the Seaway Valley show? Was that 2 years ago or was it 3 years ago? 2 years ago, right?
I think it was around 2 years ago. Yes, 2021 when the
Yeah.
pandemic was lightening up a little bit.
Oh, that yeah, that's right. You wrestled El Reverso in the match. That was a great match, man. And hopefully I'll get to meet you again very soon. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. And again, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Louis. Thank you. Thank
All
you.
right, take care. Bye.